can't just walk back into my life like this.
I know, but I couldn't stay away.
Don't stop, please. The words slipped out before I could think. Rain hammered against the penthouse window, drowning Soul in silver light. His hands, steady, commanding, pinned me against the cold glass. My breath came fast. My heart beat louder than the thunder outside. I should have pulled away. I should have said no. But the truth? I wanted him. God help me, I wanted every dangerous piece of him. Taewon Kong. The name alone could silence a room. The man who owned half of Gangnam and the fear of everyone in it. And there I was, a Nigerian woman who came to Seoul to sow dreams, now trembling under him, tasting whiskey and regret. He looked at me like I was both a question and an answer. You're playing with fire, he whispered. And you? I breathed. You are the fire. The city pulsed beneath us, cow horns, rain, a distant siren. Neon spilled through the curtains, painting his skin in red and blue. The smell of rain mixed with his cologne, with my perfume, with something I couldn't name. Every sound, every breath, every heartbeat, it all felt like a storm we created. Inside, my thoughts spun wildly. You said you'd never do this again, Nina. Never mix business and desire. Never fall for power. But it wasn't falling. It was drowning, willingly. When his lips found my neck, the world fell away. Just heat. Just heartbeat. Just sin that felt like salvation. Hello, family. Before we go deeper, please, subscribe. Your support keeps these stories alive. Stories of women who dare to love, who dare to fall, who dare to rise again. Let me know in the comments where you're watching from. His eyes didn't move from mine. For a heartbeat, the whole city disappeared. No Kaz, no thunder, no soul. Just breath and pulse and the sound of rain trying to break through the glass. He reached for me again, slower this time. Every inch between us felt charged, alive, dangerous. The kind of silence that hums right before lightning hits. Walk away, my mind whispered. Stay, my body replied. When his fingers brushed the side of my face, I forgot every promise I'd ever made to myself. The calluses on his hand told stories of violence. The gentleness in his touch told another. That contradiction, that was what pulled me closer. The scent of him, warm spice and smoke, filled the space between us. He looked down at me as though he was trying to memorize something he didn't believe in. Why you? He murmured. Out of everyone here, why you? I smiled, even though my throat tightened. Maybe because I didn't come looking for you. He almost smiled back. Almost. Then the moment cracked. His phone buzzed. A name flashed across the screen in Korean. He silenced it without looking, but I caught the flicker of tension in his jaw. For a second, I saw the weight of his world, the empire, the secrets, the danger, pressing on him. And still, he reached for me. The rain outside turned heavier, a curtain of silver light. The thunder rolled, soft at first, then deep. He leaned close, his voice rough now. Tell me to stop. I can't, I whispered. Our lips met again, slow, searching, unsure. The taste of rain, the hum of the city, the beat of two hearts that didn't belong together. And then, nothing else mattered. We stayed like that, caught between wrong and right, power and surrender, until the sound of thunder faded and the first light of dawn brushed the skyline. When I finally pulled away, my breathing uneven, I saw what I had refused to see before, a man used to control suddenly losing it. And that scared me more than anything. I gathered my dress from the floor, slipped it on with shaking hands. He watched, silent, unreadable. No words. Just that distance that always comes when the night ends. At the door, I paused. Don't call me, I said. I wasn't going to, he answered. That stung more than it should have. But pride is a good bandage. I wore it well. The elevator ride down felt endless, mirrors reflecting a woman I barely recognized. Hair messy, lipstick gone, eyes too alive. Outside, the air smelled of rain and beginnings. Seoul shimmered beneath the sunrise like it had just been washed clean. I wrapped my coat around me and whispered to myself, you will forget this night, Nina. You must. But the truth? I already knew I wouldn't. Because some nights don't end, they echo. And this one was already beginning to echo inside me. The morning after always comes too bright. Sunlight hit the windows like judgment, scattering across my studio table, over sketches half finished and coffee gone cold. I'd promised myself I would forget. I didn't. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Seoul's skyline through the rain, and the way his eyes had softened right before they hardened again. You will forget, Nina. I repeated it like prayer, like punishment. But prayers sometimes become echoes, not answers. Weeks passed. The city moved on. I pretended to. My sewing machines hummed from dawn till midnight, drowning the silence that lived inside me. Clients came, fabrics changed, laughter filled the room, but underneath it all was that strange ache, that heavy, secret stillness in my body. When the dizziness started, I blamed hunger. When the nausea followed, I blamed exhaustion. Until one morning, bent over the sink with shaking hands, I ran out of excuses. The little white stick on the counter didn't lie. 2 pink lines. 2 tiny rebellions against everything I thought I controlled. For a long moment, I couldn't breathe. The hum of soul outside faded, replaced by the sound of my heartbeat, loud, insistent, unbelieving. This can't be happening. Then the truth rose inside me, steady, undeniable. It is. I sat on the bathroom floor, knees pulled to my chest, the test still glowing beside me like evidence. His face flashed before me, sharp jaw, dark eyes, that careless smile. Taewon Kong. The storm I'd walked into with open arms. I could call him. I could tell him. But another voice, my own, answered back. And then what? He'll send money, maybe a bodyguard, maybe silence. But never peace. So I made the choice right there, barefoot on cold tiles. I'll raise you myself, I whispered. My little miracle. My little secret. Pregnancy turned my world into quiet wars. Mornings smelled like ginger tea and fear. Evenings smelled like fabric dye and determination. I hid the bump beneath oversized coats, stitched new designs at night, smiled for customers in the day. Sometimes I'd rest my palm against my belly and whisper, "We'll make it, you and I. We will." So he, my best friend, found out first. "You're serious?" she gasped, eyes wide. I nodded. "You won't tell him?" "I can't," I said. "His world eats people alive." She sighed, half pity, half awe. "You're braver than you think." Maybe. Or maybe I was just scared in a different language. Months rolled forward like sewing threads pulled tight. I watched my reflection change, cheeks softer, eyes stronger. Each kick reminded me that love sometimes grows out of chaos. And every time I felt her move, I repeated the words that had become my rhythm. When the labor pains finally came, Sol was asleep under a curtain of snow. In the small hospital room, the air smelled of antiseptic and hope. Hours later, they placed a tiny bundle on my chest, warm, perfect, alive. A girl. Eyes dark like his, spirit already her own. I named her Ella. My heartbeat found a new tempo that night. Sometimes, in the quiet, I still thought of him. Wondered if he felt the echo. But then Ella's fingers curled around mine, and the thought drifted away. This was our beginning. Just us two. And for now, that was enough. If you're still here, family, thank you. Please subscribe before we move on. Through these stories, we keep voices alive, voices of women who find strength where the world expects silence. 5 years later, Sol had learned my name. Nina Johnson, the Nigerian designer who turned Ankara into luxury. People whispered it in fashion circles, wrote it on invitations, stitched it into gossip. But behind the applause was a different truth. I was still learning how to breathe without fear. Ella was 5 now, bright, curious, unstoppable. Her laughter filled every corner of my small apartment above the boutique. She had his eyes. That sharp, dark fire that saw too much. Every time she looked at me like that, my heart stuttered. Don't think of him, I told myself. Here's another life. Another world. The night of the Seoul Fashion Week showcase, I wore calm like perfume. Reporters called out my name under the flash of cameras. Designer of the year, someone shouted. I smiled, nodded, pretended my hands weren't shaking. Inside, music thumped through the hall, bass deep, models gliding like poetry. My collection shimmered under the light, silk blended with African beadwork, Korean cuts stitched with Yoruba patterns. It was the bridge I'd built between two homes. And tonight, I was standing on it. Then the air changed. That kind of hush that means destiny just walked in. I looked up. He was there. Taewon Kong. Time hadn't dulled him, it had carved him sharper. Black suit, gold cufflinks, the same unreadable calm that used to frighten me. People parted around him like he carried his own gravity. My breath caught. 5 years. 5 silent years, and he looked at me like he'd been holding that stare the whole time. Inside, my thoughts tumbled. Don't freeze. Don't tremble. Smile. He can't know. But Ella's laughter betrayed me. She tugged my hand, pointing. Mommy, That man's looking at us. And he was. First at me, then at her. His eyes narrowed, then widened. Recognition struck him like lightning. The same eyes, the same shape, the same fire. No words, but everything was said. He started moving, slow, deliberate steps through the crowd. Every part of me screamed run, but my feet stayed still. Backstage, after the show, he found me. No bodyguards, no assistants, just Taewon. The door closed. The silence between us felt alive. She's mine, isn't she? The question hit harder than any accusation. I looked away. Don't start. Answer me. Taewon, don't lie to me, Nina. My throat tightened. His voice hadn't changed, that dangerous calm that could turn storm in a second. But under it, I heard something new, hurt. I whispered, I had to protect her. From me. From your world. He stepped closer. I looked for you, he said quietly. For months. You disappeared. I needed to, I said. You don't know what it's like being a stranger with a secret in this city. He studied me, not the designer, not the woman in control, but the one who still remembered the rain. 5 years, he said. 5 years you kept my daughter from me. His voice cracked on the last word. And that was when my anger melted into something I didn't want to name. Inside my head, a storm raged. Don't forgive him. Don't trust him. But then I remembered Ella's laughter, her questions about where her father was, and suddenly I had no words left. I don't want your money, I said. Or your help. He looked almost offended. You think that's what I came for? Then what do you want? He paused, eyes softening. Time. 2 syllables. Simple. Impossible. Later, I watched from the window as he left the building. Rain again, as if the city remembered us. He stopped under the awning, looked up once, as though searching for something in the sky. Then he walked away. Ella was asleep when I got home. She'd drawn a picture earlier, a stick-figure family holding hands under a rainbow. 3 people. I traced my fingers over the drawing, whispering, "He's not part of this picture, baby. Not yet." But deep down, a small voice whispered back, "Not yet doesn't mean never." Hello, family. Before we go on, please subscribe. Your support keeps these stories breathing. Stories about love that finds its way back, no matter how far it runs. Tell me where you're listening from. Tell me if you believe in second chances. The night the storm came, the sky looked bruised. Purple clouds over Seoul, wind carrying the smell of rain and something heavier, change. Taewon had started showing up again. At first, small things, driving Ella to school, bringing her a red umbrella on rainy mornings, standing quietly at the back of her recitals. He never announced himself. He just appeared, a constant shadow-turned guardian. I tried to tell myself it was temporary, that he'd fade again like he always did. But every time he smiled at Ella, that thought unraveled. She adored him already. "Daddy, faster," she'd laugh as he pushed her swing. That word, "Daddy," hit me like a prayer and a warning at once. I had built a life without him, and now he was writing himself back into it one visit at a time. Inside, I was torn. Part of me wanted to slam every door. Another part, the quieter one, remembered his eyes in the hospital window the night Ella was born, the ones I imagined when I whispered to her, "He'll never hurt you." People can change, the quiet voice said. But can they stay changed? Then came the night of the attack. It started with a phone call. A breathless voice. "Madam Nina, something's happening at the studio." Before I could ask, the line cut. I ran out into the rain. Seoul's streets blurred past, neon and panic. By the time I reached the boutique, glass littered the sidewalk like fallen stars. Smoke. Screams. Inside, shelves shattered, mannequins toppled. And there, amid the chaos, was Taewon. Blood on his temple, shirt torn, one arm wrapped around Ella. He looked at me, chest heaving. "They tried to get to me," he said. "They came for what I love." I froze. What he loves. The words echoed louder than the sirens. "Put her down," I whispered, running to them. Ella's face was streaked with tears but unhurt. He handed her over gently, then swayed, catching himself on the counter. "Taewon, you're bleeding. I'm fine." "You're not fine." I said I'm fine, he snapped, then softer. "I had to protect you." Something inside me cracked then. All the anger, the fear, the pride, it burned away in one long breath. I looked at him, really looked, and saw a man bleeding for a life he'd never been allowed to touch. Later, When the police left and the studio was silent again, I found him sitting by the window, rain sliding down the glass like exhaustion. "You could have died," I said quietly. He didn't look at me. "Better me than you." I wanted to yell, to throw something, to remind him that his world of power and enemies didn't belong anywhere near us. But the words that came out were softer. "This is exactly why I kept you away." He turned then, eyes raw. "And yet here I am," he said. "Because I couldn't stay away." The truth hung between us like lightning that refused to strike. My heart ached for every version of us we'd never had. When Ella finally slept, I sat beside him. The city lights flickered on the wet glass, painting his face in gold and silver. "Why risk everything?" I asked. He exhaled slowly. "Because for the first time, everything means you." I didn't answer. I just reached out, brushed the blood from his brow with trembling fingers. His hand found mine and held it there. In the distance, thunder rolled, soft, almost tender. Outside, the storm was passing, but inside, something new was just beginning. Morning came soft, as if the city itself wanted to whisper instead of roar. The storm had washed everything clean, streets, rooftops, even the ache behind my ribs. Seoul looked reborn, and somehow, so did we. Taewon didn't go back to his office that week. The phone calls came, he ignored them. The men from his world came, he turned them away. One evening, I heard him in the kitchen on the phone. "It's over. I'm done." Then the click, final as thunder. He came to me, eyes clear for the first time since I'd known him. "I'm dismantling it all," he said. "The business, the power, everything that puts you in danger." I didn't speak at first. Words felt too small for what that meant. He reached for my hand. "I want a clean life. For Ella. For you. For us." I believed him then, not because of what he said, but because of how he looked when he said it, like a man stepping out of shadow into sunlight and learning how to breathe again. Days folded into weeks. He'd come home earlier, cook rice the wrong way, let Ella smear flour on his shirt. She'd giggle, call him Daddy Oppa, and he'd laugh like he hadn't in years. At night, when the house grew quiet, he'd sit with me on the balcony. We'd watch the city lights blink like stars too proud to sleep. Sometimes he'd talk about business, other times, about nothing at all. Mostly, we just listened, to the hum of traffic, to Ella's soft snoring, to the heartbeat of a life we were building piece by piece. Inside my head, the same thought circled. Maybe redemption isn't something you beg for. Maybe it's something you build. Then came the night he proposed. No dinner reservations, no audience, just the three of us. Ella was playing with her dolls when he knelt in front of me, holding a small velvet box. "I used to think power was control," he said. "Now I know it's choosing what matters most." He opened the box, a simple gold ring, nothing like the world he came from. "Marry me, Nina. Let me give her the family you carried alone." I didn't cry right away. Tears came later, when I realized how rare it is for life to give you a second beginning. "Yes," I whispered. "Yes." Ella clapped before she even understood what she was cheering for. Taewon laughed, slipped the ring on my finger, and for the first time, it didn't feel like surrender, it felt like peace. The wedding was quiet. A small garden in late spring, blossoms swaying like applause. So he adjusted my veil. Ella tossed petals that stuck to her braids. When I walked toward him, all the noise of the past, the gossip, the fear, the long silence, faded like an old song. When he said "I do," he said it like a promise kept to the universe. When I said it back, I meant it like a vow to myself. She was not broken. She was free. She was not abandoned. She was becoming. Months later, life found its rhythm again. My fashion house reopened, bigger, brighter. Taewon started a foundation for young engineers from poor neighborhoods. Ella walked her first runway in one of my designs, waving at the crowd, her laughter echoing across the hall. He watched from the front row, pride written all over his face. After the show, we went home, the city lights chasing us through the streets. Dinner turned into laughter, laughter into music, and before long, Ella was asleep on the couch, her tiny fingers still clutching a strip of fabric. On the balcony, he pulled me close. "Do you ever regret it?" he asked quietly. "The night we met." I smiled. "How can I? That one night gave me everything." He looked out at the skyline, neon, endless, alive. "The tiger of Seoul," he murmured, half to himself, finally tamed. I laughed softly. Not tamed. Transformed. Sometimes, when I think back to that rain-soaked night, I wonder if fate was smiling or playing a cruel joke. But then I hear Ella's voice drifting through the apartment, her laughter, her songs, and I know the answer. From one reckless night, we built a life no one could tear apart.